There's so much pottery strewn on the Thames foreshore everywhere you look, dating back to, goodness me, pre-Roman times right up to modern day. But recently I was reminded of some very special pottery which I found back in 2013. A trip back to my childhood home of Cornwall in December 2018 reminded me that I had some Roman pottery which I found back in 2013 in my cupboard. Now the reason I was reminded of this is because my friends Adrian and Sue Brough, who run a B&B down in Cornwall. Adrian is a potter and he was showing me his kick wheel and all the beautiful pots and creations he makes with his kick wheel, and then I remembered about this piece of, or these fragments of pottery which I've got at home, so I dug them out. They've been registered with the Fines Liaison Officer in Kent, and this is, well, 80% of a Roman wheel-thrown mortarium dating back to the 4th century AD. It would have been used for pounding and mixing foods in a Roman kitchen in ancient Rome. So I just love the idea of a Roman pounding up herbs in there and knocking up a nice Roman dinner. But it also made me think that for hundreds, thousands of years, potters have been using these wheels to make their pottery, and how so little has changed in some ways in that sense. So this video is going to be about my trip to Cornwall. I do a little bit of stream larking whilst I'm there, but also a few other activities. I grew up there, like I said, and I find it such an inspiring place, and it's where my love of collecting objects washed out by the tide started, really, because I used to do a lot of beachcombing. And we're also going to have a little visit to Adrian's pottery. So we're going from pottery from the 4th century AD to pottery in 2019. What a journey. Every year I make the trip down to Cornwall from London at least twice. It's a very special place for me because this is where I grew up. It's just majestic. It's such a beautiful place. And so when I moved to London and went down onto the Thames foreshore and started finding bits and pieces, it was like a a natural progression from beachcombing to mudlarking, which is almost a bit like urban beachcombing really. So I'm not sure if I'll get much mudlarking done here, but I'm certainly going to have a look and see whether there's anything to find. So whilst I'm in Cornwall, I thought I'm going to have to try a little bit of river larking. Now this isn't the River Thames, but I can already see over there a little piece of broken bottle in the banks. Just here. And so I'm going to go and investigate further. I can see that it says Red Ruth on there, which is a place not far from where I am now. Probably an old beer bottle. So it might not be the Thames, but there's certainly history here, nevertheless. So let's get this little bit of pottery out, and have to be quite careful or else it's going to go flying down the stream. I can also see the bottom here, so I'm going to have to put my camera away whilst I get these out. Here we go. Yeah, it probably came from a brewery or an ale house from Red Ruth. It's a shame there isn't a little bit more information on it, but even so, got enough to go on. It's a sign that there may be other things to come. See another bottle here poking out. Let's have a look and see if we can find out something about it. Ah, it's an HP sauce bottle. HP sauce. It's a bit broken. Haha, I've also spotted a glass bottle stopper. Well, it's not the Thames, but there are some bits to be found. Look, I've just found this fragment of pottery, probably a large jar, and it looks as if it would have said at one time, shame it's not whole, this jar is the property of J.A. somebody, Botten something. Look, I can even see a vulcanite bottle stopper here. So what's this here? It's pottery with something on it, hopefully something local. Let's see. What's that? Great Western Railway Hotels. Have to do a bit of research on that. There's part of a broken bottle here, and on it's got Harberton and it's missing the name of the family, unfortunately, but it's interesting finding bottles, of course, not in the London area, because it's just something different to research. So I'll have to look up Harberton, see if I can find out anything about them. Pretty little seam. It's a shame it's broken there. You can see part of a person, see their leg. There's a little bit here. It says grand, which is good because I'm having a grand time. You may have noticed that when I do the roundups back at my flat in London, up on the windowsill where I put all my mudlarking finds, there is a very large sculpture, and it's inspired by the Cornish rock pools, and it's made by my very good friend Adrian Brough. And I'm going to go and visit Adrian in his pottery, which is in his backyard actually. He's a very, very talented potter. And I'm going to ask him a little bit more about the inspiration behind his work. Although when you look at the stunning scenery here, it's really not hard to see where he gets his inspiration from. So I'm here at Adrian Brough's Pottery, which is in Lelant, at the Old Farmhouse, and I'm going to see if he's got time to show me around his pottery and tell me a bit about his work. Hi Adrian!
Morning Nick, you okay?
Yes. Oh, that's exactly like, well not exactly, it's a bit like my rock pool sculpture that I've got on my windowsill. So this is Adrian Brough, potter from Lelant. Adrian, have you got time to tell me a bit about your work and
Absolutely.
show me around your pottery?
Of
What are you doing?
I'm just making half of a tall vase.
Right.
So I'll just finish this off and then we'll
Okay.
have a little chat.
Is that a kick wheel?
It is, it's a leech kick wheel. These were designed and survived in the 1930s.
Right.
And I was fortunate enough to be able to make one at college as part of my diploma.
Wonderful. So you always make it look so easy, but I don't think it's quite as easy as it looks.
It's just the years, like any sort of craft really. One of my dad's favourite little quips was, how long does it take to make a teapot? And he'd always say 40 years. And people were expecting like half an hour, you know. So
Yeah.
it was a great answer. Just mention the top of this. This is half of the tall vase, so both halves have to be exactly the same size.
So you put them together afterwards?
Yeah, they're assembled. So I'll have a look at one of those in a minute.
Wow. That's amazing.
So this is the top half.
That's the top half.
Yeah.
Have you done the
Which will
bottom
be-
half?
There's the bottom half over there.
Aha. And how do you get them exactly the same size?
Just measure.
Oh.
It's just like, you know, if you were doing it in wood or any kind of material really. And then when these are dry enough, you just turn one on top of the other
Yep.
and then throw the seam together and then use the bottom of the top half
Yes.
to make the top, or the bottle, the neck. So these will end up about over 2 foot tall.
Gosh, have you got like a finished version example? Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, let's go see.
Yeah. These are done in the same way. These are thrown in two halves into a tall round cylinder, and then they're altered as they dry. You alter them into an oval,
Yeah.
and then they're cut away. But a lot of people think these are assembled, but they're actually cut away.
Oh, I thought they were assembled.
Yeah, they're cut away, and then the texture you can see here is the natural texture in the clay.
Yeah.
So I scrape the surface with a blade, and it brings up that texture. And then I use colours
Yeah, look at that texture.
for the other parts.
They are stunning.
And these are all inspired just by Cornwall rock pools.
By the rock pools.
Exactly, yeah. But the tall vase, this is how they end up.
Oh, perfect. Look at that. So from that to that. Oh, they're beautiful. I'm a huge fan of fish, as everybody knows.
It's purely to do with the length of your arm. You can't throw a cylinder taller than just above your elbow.
Right.
Unless you have a wheel you can stand over, which is what the Japanese use quite a lot. So you can actually lift kind of like that. But if you're on a leech kick wheel, you get to a certain point and your elbow starts bending, so you can't throw the cylinder.
It's the sort of thing you don't really think about. So what is the main inspiration behind your work, do you think?
Cornwall.
Cornwall.
Yeah, marine life, Cornwall. But I have two styles. I have the very painterly style, and then I have this style. This is what I learnt at college. This is very leech inspired.
Yeah.
clay from St Agnes, all the glazed materials out of the ground in Cornwall.
Yes.
And the white glaze has the ash out of our wood stove in it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
So that's a wood ash glaze. This one's called Temaku. It's Japanese glaze, and this one's called Nuka. I really like the name Nuka, it's great.
Yeah. Oh, it's wonderful.
And then right from very large to very small, so it shows, that you can either throw with fingertips or whole hands.
Yeah. And there's one thing I noticed behind your kick wheel, which is a very similar to the bellamines that us mudlarks find a lot of. I just spotted it, just over here. There he is.
Obviously it's done in a slightly different style. I did that in slipware.
Yeah.
So it has a very traditional medieval English look. I've kind of stolen the German bellabine theme and then married it up with English slipware.
I love those because I'm going to start doing mudlarking supper clubs. Everyone, by the way, that's watch out for that. And I'm hoping to see if I can get you to make some larger ones for the table. But you said something interesting the other day about the salt, because the ones that I find are salt glazed.
Yeah, that's right.
And what's
salt glazing is it's frowned upon, and I think it might actually be illegal in residential places because it gives off. I'm trying to think of the gas now. It gives off a dangerous gas.
Right.
The name of which will come to me in a minute. So you can't do it anywhere in a built-up area. Chlorine gas.
Chlorine gas.
Which is pretty damn dangerous.
You never would have imagined that at all.
But salt glazing is interesting. You get the clay, you get the kiln to a certain temperature, and you literally shovel in salt, and that volatilises in the atmosphere and forms a glaze on the pots.
Gosh.
And all the drains used to be made in salt glaze. If you find a piece of old drain, you'll see the same melamine glaze because it makes things completely vitreous, which is why it was used for bellamines as well, because the liquor in them was valuable. They couldn't afford any kind of porosity, so that's why they were salt glazed. The modern equivalent is soda glazing. It doesn't quite give the depth of finish, but it's very similar.
Yeah, they are great.
And this is my inspiration up here. This is my dad working on the wheel.
Alan.
So he's kind of overlooking me all the time. I grew up in the studio with him, and I used to throw for him when I was in my teens, making mugs, putting handles on, things like that.
And did Alan studied with Bernard Leach?
He did, yeah, in the 60s. He was the throwing foreman in the last 3 years of the 1960s. But he moved from London to Devon, where he ran the Dartmouth Pottery, and then to the Leach Pottery. And then he opened his own pottery in Newlyn.
Yeah, actually, I had the pleasure of meeting Alan. Wonderful, absolutely.
So I always tell people I grew up in a pottery. Childcare was pottery. When my mum was teaching at Newton Abbot Art School, I was just running around the floor of the pottery eating clay. And
oh, great! So it actually is in your blood.
Yeah,
then,
it is in the blood. Yeah,
totally. And actually, I can't help not notice these beautiful cats.
Oh,
it's like you've got a cattery.
Yeah, the cats have become quite popular.
Oh, these are gorgeous.
Yeah, and they're made on the wheel as well. And then the legs and tail are pulled like handles. So they're all quite fluid.
Look at these. And are they air drying?
They're air drying at the moment, yeah. They'll be in the kiln tonight actually for their first firing. They get fired twice.
Where can people find out more about your work?
Well, mostly on my webpage, my Facebook page.
Yeah.
And a little bit on Instagram as well.
And you do have a YouTube channel, don't you?
I do have a YouTube channel,
do?
Yes, and I have instructional videos on there. And of course, people can come and stay at the Old Farmhouse and learn how to make pots.
Yes,
so
because you have a bed and breakfast, don't you?
We do have a bed and breakfast, yeah. So and it's quite nice if you can stay and throw at the same time and then get Sue's lovely breakfast. So it's a whole package.
Have a last look at these. There is one on my windowsill, and when I do my mudlarking roundups, it's sitting there looking out over the grounds of where I live. Beautiful.
A little piece of Cornwall in London.
Yeah, a little piece of Cornwall in London. It does look to be something quite relaxing about it.
It is. It is. And I think it's like a lot of other things. I mean, if I surf and fish and things like that. And when you do these things, you don't think about anything else.
Yes.
So you can zone out of everything else that's going on in your life and just think about what's in front of you.
Yeah, that's funny because that's exactly how I feel about mudlarking.
Yeah.
When I go down to the Thames foreshore, I'm so in the moment because I'm just looking
exactly. And it's,
around.
It's the excitement that brings as well. It's real. It's very real.
It's a bit like meditation.
It is. It is mindfulness, I guess. It's probably like yoga or all these other things. That something that just takes you away from like the hectic, busy every day.
Yeah. say, sorry to embarrass you, Sue,
That's
but
right.
you do cook the most amazing breakfasts
Oh, thank you.
in the world for
Thank you.
B&B. So can you show me around
sure.
your room?
Well, these are the 2 tables I do for breakfast. So it's really nice. People get to see what we've got on our walls and everything.
Yeah.
We've got lots of local artists and family.
I know, it really is like an art gallery in here.
I know, it's lovely,
It's
isn't
always
it?
something to look at.
Yeah.
And it's all those Cornish kind of inspired scenes. And
There's even one of yours actually there.
oh yeah,
The
I forgot
birthday
about
card
that.
that you made me.
Oh yes, I'll have a very big zoom in on that. I haven't
It's
made.
great, I get loads of comments about that. You could make those. Yeah.
So when is the best time for people to come and stay in the B&B?
Spring is a lovely time to come. It's quiet, the beaches are quiet. We've got a beautiful beach in walking distance, just 10 minutes down the road. Summer starts to get a little bit busier, but it's still beautiful. September is a good time to come.